What's going on, everybody? Lazarus here. Just got back from watching M3GAN 2.0. This movie was something that I've been anticipating for a very long time. This one, once again, was directed by Gerard Johnston, or I think it said his name right, and takes place about I think 2 years after the first movie. Well, I think it takes place around the same time in the real world too. But nonetheless, this movie is about Katie and Gemma having to deal with a new artificial intelligence named Amelia, I believe. And they find themselves backed in a corner because they found out that Amelia is after a certain something. And they inquire, you know whose help again, by I'm not going to say when it happens, but by some point in the film. Now, this film takes a different approach. It takes an approach to more action adventure type deal. Well, not so much adventure, but action. And kind of goes the Terminator route, where, remember, if everybody saw the first Terminator movie, you know it's more of like a sci-fi horror type of film. And the second one was more of like an action film. This movie does the same thing. It did it, but a lot less. Not as good, but it tried to attempt to go in that direction. So, the film itself, I would personally think it's all right. I don't think it was a good idea to go in this direction with the M3GAN character. Now, I know a lot of people might disagree with that, but I just don't think that they should have done something like this when they had a really good premise. It shouldn't have been like a copy and paste type of thing with the whole Terminator thing. If you remember back in the Terminator movies, Terminator 1, yes, the T-800 was bad, and think his name was John, the one that Sarah Connor ended up with. Yeah, he was the good guy going back into the past to save Sarah and everything. That was the first movie. Second movie, T-800 gets reprogrammed. Arnold becomes the hero in the next movie. That's the general premise of those two things. Now, with M3GAN, however, this shouldn't be too much of a spoiler, but in case you consider this spoiler terror, I'm just going to talk about the differences between M3GAN and the Terminator concept of those films, the first two at least. Now, in M3GAN 2.0, M3GAN is the same person that she was in the first film. She doesn't get reprogrammed or anything really changes besides the body they put her in. And then that's something that we all see in the trailer too. That's not really a spoiler either. Now, do I think that it was a good idea? No. Once again, I don't think it was a good idea to do it because it was the missed opportunity they had to have it to where it would be more of like a Child's Play or a Chucky type of franchise. I'm not saying you should have copied and pasted the Child's Play idea, which it automatically didn't really do, besides like the whole little kid having a toy that eventually goes bad on them type of thing. But that's a trope that's been around in movies for so long now, so it's not really that big of an issue at this point in time. I guarantee you that people don't really mind that much. People love the first M3GAN movie. We thought it was going to be the tipping point of a whole franchise with a killer doll going off again. But nonetheless, I thought it was a good maybe 6 out of 10. It had its moments of humor too. I would say most of the time where they try to be funny, it actually did work. So that's a plus. You don't get that in movies nowadays. The horror aspect, it gets completely taken out. Though I didn't feel creeped out in any way, shape, or form at any point in the movie. And I didn't really like that much. I just preferred that genre with the M3GAN character compared to how she was interpreted in this film, and the Amelia character as well. The Amelia character was basically just the T-1000, like Arnie was fighting in the second Terminator movie. That's basically all it was. You can tell this movie is really inspired by Terminator 2. It really is inspired by Terminator 2. It's a good ending. It's a good ending too, and it leaves it open for I don't know how many sequels they can have for this Megan series or this Megan franchise. But people seem to like the Megan character nonetheless. They explain why she did what she did in the first film and why she changed her ways in the second film. There was a twist in this movie too, where you thought that something was about to happen when they show why they keep getting hacked at the end. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, then it's not really spoiler territory. I'm not gonna say exactly what happens, but they get hacked. Somebody gets hacked in the end of close to the end of the movie, and you think it's a twist with that character, but it's not really. And I actually would have been very, very interested to see if that was going to be the case. They're like, oh no, fooled them all along. It was her all along. Like, no, no, it wasn't like that. Nah, things actually did change. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you haven't seen the film, just go watch the film. You'll understand what I mean by that. But anyway, like I said, it's a good 6 point, or it's a good 6 out of 10. Um, but I definitely recommend people go see it. It's okay. It's an okay film, better than usual slop we get nowadays from people like Disney or Marvel or whatever. But something else I want to talk about too is I have been a huge fan when it comes to like horror franchises for a very long time now. Maybe since I saw like the first, I don't know, maybe Halloween. I think when I first saw Halloween when I was a kid. Well, I think I was like maybe, well, yeah, I think I was like maybe like 14 or 15 years old. And I've been a huge fan of like horror as a genre in general since then. It's just intrigued me. Just the dark tone, the not so much the gore part, but just the dark gothic tone of certain horror films, and just the way they're directed too. Just that creepy feeling you get. It just feels so, I don't know. It just intrigues me so much. I love to watch horror films. Like me personally, I just love horror films. I've loved them since I was a kid all the time. One thing I have always loved is when they have two horror icons clash between one another. I just love when they do that. It's just two powerhouses just going and colliding against one another. Now I will say this: for so long, I had thought that they were gonna have it to where Chucky fights somebody from the Child's Play series. Chucky, I thought he was gonna fight somebody at some point down the line. I didn't know who it was gonna be. I had thought that maybe it was gonna be Leprechaun. That would have been, oh my god, that would have been such a terrible film. So I'm kind of glad they didn't do it. I am just a little bit disappointed. It would have been kind of funny if they did. Let's be honest. It would have been fun. It would have been hilarious. But I didn't know if it was gonna be Leprechaun or just somebody, or Leprechaun versus Wishmaster, or Michael versus Jason. Besides, Freddy versus Jason is literally the only thing we've ever seen. Well, I guess if you consider like Sadako versus Kayako, that movie wasn't supposed to be like serious. I think it was supposed to be like a comedy or something like that. I seen that too. I don't remember. It was so long ago. But we rarely have any movies like that nowadays, and it would be such a great opportunity for Hollywood to make a hell of a lot of money. Now, why I bring that up is because that's one of the reasons why I kind of preferred if they kept Megan like that as a horror franchise. Because yes, you can still consider her a horror character from the first movie, but she's not really a horror character anymore. Seeing as how this movie ended, no, forget. I'm not gonna say what happens. But the way this movie ended, you don't get that sense anymore. I'll just say that it's not really spoilers either. It's not really spoilers. Um, but yeah, why I say that is because you want to have two horror icons clash together. If it's like just a regular being that's not like just a regular horror icon, it's not gonna be as good because Freddy vs. Jason, those were two legends clashing together, two horror icons clashing together, like the fight of the freaking decade. Now, if they had to where Megan stayed as a horror character and just stayed with that genre throughout like a trilogy of films, or like I don't know, they can do how I don't know how many. She's AI. She cannot die that easily. You know what I'm saying? So if they had done that, it would clash with how many films Chucky had in the franchise, which I think is like maybe what like 6 or 7. I think Seed of Chucky was the last film they ever. No. I'm wrong. Excuse me. It was Curse of Chucky, and then I think it was Cult of Chucky. I think. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So it was technically like 8 films besides the TV series, and it's apparently it's canon too. So, but yeah, if they had done something where like they kept a franchise like that going on for years, and then they got the character like well known throughout the whole like through like a whole decade of like people watching it, or like more than a decade of people watching it, you could see such a higher or bigger impact of someone like Megan going up against someone like Chucky, who's been around since like the '80s, I believe. That was just a missed opportunity that I think it really missed out. That I think it missed out on, because that would have been just a really interesting thing to see. A killer doll going up against another killer doll. Now, with the way Megan's bio, like the way her body is now in the second film, I don't think Chucky's gonna have a really good time with that. If she was the way she was in the first film, he might have a chance to actually win the fight. He would still have a hard time, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, he would be able to. He would just have an easier time actually beating Megan. It would be a lot more. It would be on somewhat more on an even playing field. If that makes sense. But the way she is in that Megan 2.0, you just don't get that same feeling. Now, the way it ends, it's still a possibility that they could still have it to where those two characters clash, but I just don't think it would have been as good if they had. I don't think it would have been as well done as if they had her stay as a horror character. Like, just had her just stay as a villain. I don't know what's with this constant trope of AI being. I don't know, just. It seems like a lot of AI movies nowadays are like the ones where you usually assume, like we see a lot of AI movies where they're like turning into like the bad guy because they always misunderstand. It's probably like a 50-50 thing. Like we see some films where they're bad, they turn bad because they misunderstand. They also turn good after like a misunderstanding, and they actually can redeem themselves. I guess it's a 50-50 thing. But yeah, I personally think that Megan should just stayed as a villain. If I'm being honest, it would have been a lot more interesting that way. It seems like Megan as the character actually has her own type of personality. It seems like it's not just something that was, I don't know, just artificially created. It seems like the longer she stays alive, the more things she develops as a person. It's a very interesting concept to recognize. But the way she is now, it would be still be interesting if she goes up against someone like Chucky. But Chucky would have to have some kind of huge advantage to be able to take her out, though. It just if she would have to go back in her original body from the first film, or she would have to, or Chucky would have to get some type of major upgrade. I heard in the comic books or something that he's able to. He just has more powers from his voodoo magic or something like that. Unless they tap into that for like a Chucky versus Megan crossover film, then I don't think he's gonna win that fight. But let me know what you guys think. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you in the next review. Bye.